Hi all, today we'll discuss microservice tech stack, pre-production and production. So what all are the component we will aware about this pre-productions while we are developing a microservices and while we are deploying this microservices in productions. So what are the components and tech stack is required to see the details. So these are the two things. One is pre-production, so before the production microservice development, and productions means once your microservice developed, then we have testing in pre-production, and after that we will deploy it in the production. So these two things are there. So one is pre-production. So this pre-productions we have a developers. So that developers we have a defined API. So developers will connect with this open API or post defined API by using Postman or any tools. So through the API we will connect with these two things. One is a front end, other is a back end, and then we have a modify configuration API gateway. So if you have a request which need to be transferred through this, so the API will communicate and it will go for the particular node, React, or any Angular developer UI. So through that developer UI, it will come the request and it will go for this developer microservice. So developer microservice will based on the Java, and once the request will communicate with this UI to Java and required modification configuration or some modify configuration which is required from the API gateway, it will be communicate and then it comes here in this test module. So the test module will test these details and by using Jenkins or JUnit 5. After that, it will create a Docker, so that build the image and create a Docker image. And once we are going for the deployment, so we have a Jenkins continuous deployment. So through that, we have to deploy it and create a Kubernetes so that it manages the container of Docker image. So this is a pre-productions. Now, once we go for the production deployment, so in that production deployment, we have two things. One is a client API app, another is a web app. So client app or web app will communicate. We have to client and web apps will send some details. So while they send the detail, it will go for the load balancer or content delivery network (CDN). So for the CDN, we can use a Cloudflare, and then load balancers. We have a different Neginix and others load balancers we can use. Once we have, then the load balancers will communicate with the API gateway, either Joule or any others. So the Joule API gateway will communicate, and after that we have a Eureka service registry where all the microservices, all the services and all will be registered. So that will be communicated in this service, and some caches, text search, or messaging broker. So depends on the requirement, it will be communicated with the services, it will be communicated with the caches, it will communicated from the full text search, it will be communicated for the message broker. So the message broker will have a Kafka, full text search will have a elastic log stack, Ivana and all we will configure. Caches we have a RabbitMQ and all, and the services will be communicate with this AWS cloud services. And after that we have a through this RPC and all, we have a multiples remote database, relational database, non-relational database, and all database will be communicated. So while communicated relational database will have a microservice based database as a SQL, and then object store database will have a Amazon S3, and then wide column database we have a Cassandra. So Cassandra database will be communicated, and here we have manage or monitor all the applications by using Kubernetes, Postman, Elastics, and all. So these all are the things we have to understand while we'll go for the pre-prod and prod. So pre-prod developers will use, prod customers will use. Yeah. So thank you.